Hello, everyone. Welcome to Degenerate Takes. I am AJ. This is my co host, Noah, and we are here to talk about all things sports, betting, and just anything else that kind of crosses our mind. Noah, going into everything, let's just go ahead into it. Suns Bucks, super disappointing what the Suns did. Everyone thought Suns in four, but here we are, Bucks in six. What are your thoughts? What do you think we could have done better? How do you think Chris Paul could have won his first championship? And here we are, no rings, nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. Disappointing, obviously, but turns out Giannis just too much for the Suns to handle. I think it, ultimately boils down to that they just didn't have an answer. You know, Trying to play Ayton one-on-one on him, clearly not working. And
And,
yeah, Suns just couldn't get enough going.
and that was the disappointing part. Like Aiton has been so promising the entire season, and even in the playoffs, he was so God, he was just so dynamic, so good in the paint, and it felt like in the finals we just didn't feed him whatsoever. We just kind of threw him the leftovers, and then was like, "Good luck with Giannis, bro." like, uh, uh, heartbreaking to see.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know that there's much else they could have done to give him help. I think,
Yeah,
the Suns, like, what are you going to do? Throw Kaminsky out there. And granted, Kaminsky actually had a pretty decent game six, which shocked me because, um, his previous minutes earlier this series, he's been absolute dog shit. He clearly cannot defend, Giannis especially, but I don't know that I'd have faith in Kaminsky to routinely defend, any decent big in the entire league. So
yeah, not at
that's
all.
something
But
the Suns should look forward to in the offseason is getting a, more solid center backup for Aiton.
oh, definitely. Whether it's free agency or the draft coming up, we need another big in the lineup, and I think the difference is we don't need a 7 foot big. We have a 7 foot big. We need someone who's a 7 foot big, but also like 275 and jacked like Giannis. You know, we need someone that can bully down low. And don't get me wrong, Aiden can be that guy. He's still young. He can still develop into that type of a player. But short term, that's kind of I think what the Suns need to be looking into because our 3 point mid range game was solid, but we were just getting beat down low.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, tough series loss, especially the way they came out in games one and two. Really made you confident that this title was theirs to lose, and they
It
just
really
got
was though.
outmanned.
Even going into the series, they were the more dominant team. They were the team that had the best stats going into it. Everyone was hot, and then here we are. They showed up for games one and two, and they proved it was their series to lose. It was the first times I think all season. I'm sorry, not all season, all playoffs that the Suns were favored because against the Lakers, the Clippers, they were the underdogs all series, which makes sense because no one in the media wants to talk about the Suns. I mean, they're a West Coast team, but with that being said, they kind of just broke under pressure. It felt like.
Yeah, no, I will say though, it does take some of the sting away losing to a team like Milwaukee, smaller market team. There's no shame in losing to Giannis. I mean, this man's, you could argue that he's the best player in the NBA right now. He's for
Oh
sure as
yeah,
hell top three. I mean, so
the top one and
great
two
guy
is
too
KD
on
and Giannis,
on and off
and
the
it's
court.
like 1A, 1B, and then LeBron is just at number two. But yeah, it'll be
But
crazy to see what we do next season because there's no way that the Suns are going to be able to re-sign most of their bench, or they're going to get an offer they can't refuse in the end.
Well, or whether or not Chris Paul opts in. There's
Yeah.
already swirling rumors about about a Chris Paul, LeBron, AD super team out in LA, which I would hate to see that, but
Which,
I
let's
also
be
couldn't
real, it
blame the
would be
man
a
for.
LeBron. It would be a LeBron CP3 team because AD can't be healthy for more than half the season. So, like, I understand wanting to bring Chris Paul in, but it's definitely not going to solve LeBron's problems of just being LeBron. Like, he didn't perform as well as he should have in the playoffs this season. I think he was focused on Space Jam, trying to make that shit movie something that people can watch. But,
God, speaking of, have not watched it yet, but God, the reviews are just awful.
and like, and so as someone who used to work at Disney, like, I understand being able to look at movies and be able to be like, yeah, this is made for kids. This is not made for me and stuff. But when you're advertising on NBA TV, it's LeBron James and it's on his social media and stuff. You expect that, I think, to be a little bit more adult, to be a little bit more LeBron based and not as family oriented as it was, especially because the Looney Tunes haven't been relevant for what, 25 years? Since when was the last Space Station? Like, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the only thing it's probably got out there is for those few individuals who love the sexualization of Lola Bunny.
Hey man, everyone can
That's probably where the
like what they do, but that's not for
that's
me.
where the positive review is. It's all the people who either have a hard on for LeBron or Lola Bunny, one of the two.
One of the L's in the movie. Either way, it took a big one, just in general. But you got
Oh,
anything else
man.
on Suns and Bucks besides Giannis is probably the best player in the NBA right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We got the NBA draft coming up. Don't know. I mean, you know, those first 5, 6 picks, you kind of know what to expect, and then I feel like we'll see what happens with the rest of those. And the Suns picking at 29. I have no idea who will end up falling there that they like, but we will see. A lot of questions for the off season that we'll just need time to let it unravel and unfold. All right,
All
yeah,
right,
yeah, we're good.
so enough about the Suns. We get it. Giannis is the greatest ever player. The Suns need more bigs in order to combat other bigs because, you can't just have DA down there if you're not going to have any support. But now on to something more exciting, a little bit new. We got the expansion draft today with the NHL. I'm the Seattle Krakens. Love the jerseys, love the logo. I mean, just like with the Golden Knights, that's what I'm most excited about. They're awesome. But I know a lot of players got drafted today from these 30 teams. So, Noah, what should I be excited about? What should I look forward to? And why are the Krakens going to be in the Stanley Cup hunt?
Yeah, well, might be way too ambitious saying they'll be in the Stanley Cup hunt. I doubt we'll see the same success replicated as what the Knights had 4 years ago. Got a very different vibe with this draft. A lot of the all the other teams in the NHL, I think, learned their lesson the first time around with how the Vegas expansion draft is handled, and they are, using a much different strategy. Vegas really took advantage of a lot of teams wanting to protect players beyond their protected list. Made a lot of trades. Trade free gets lifted tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll see some movement, but I doubt it'll be anything near what we saw with Vegas. Uh, One name to watch out for would be Mark Giordano, who was a
Yeah.
huge one. He was even there for the whole expansion draft ceremony today in a Kraken jersey. It might be the last time we ever see him in a Kraken jersey.
What do you mean it might be
There's
the
rumors
last
for it.
time we see him in that jersey? Because, I mean, he looked pretty damn good in
I'm
it, and he just got drafted to them.
Yeah, I mean, he might be a member of the Seattle Kraken for one day and one day only because there's rumors swirling around the New York Rangers being one of the main teams who's interested in him. I hear Buffalo's also trying to make some moves. God, I feel so bad for him if he went to Buffalo.
I mean,
Not
unless
not
you're
that Calgary
in
was
the
super.
NFL, you don't really want to go to Buffalo for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, not that Calgary was anything to like brag about, but he was there his entire career. He's got some attachment to there. If he just gets shipped off to an even worse team than Calgary, yeah, I mean, the dude's 37. He's only got a couple years left. If he just gets stuck in Buffalo for a couple years, that's just, I feel bad for the man.
It's a rough
But he's
sentence, and
definitely,
especially with how exciting the Krakens are looking. Like, I mean, you're gonna have excitement coming out of it being your first season in general. The fans are gonna be hyped. We know the Seattle fans are ruthless. I mean, just look at the
yeah, I mean,
Seahawks fans.
Seattle's a great sports city, to be honest. I mean, if I were a player, I'd be happy to go play in Seattle because those fans really get behind it. No
They
matter what
really
the
do.
sport is. I think it's only a matter of not if but how many years until they get another NBA franchise there. They're just it's a pretty decent sized market
Well,
city
wait,
and
wait, time
fans are
out.
great.
So you think they're gonna get an NBA team?
Oh, I don't know how soon, but they've been lobbying for it for forever, and this feels like um, a good substitute. But I think they're going to be if they have the typical rough expansion franchise start, which I assume they probably will. It's not going to be too long until they're asking for an NBA team again.
NBA
And
team. So do you think that would be an expansion team, or do you think it would be a relocation of a team? Because I mean, you look at OKC, that's a team that you could move and no questions asked.
no, no, no,
Like,
no, no. I'll tell you who it'll be. It'll be the Timberwolves.
really, the Timberwolves. Why? Why?
Yeah,
Why on
yeah,
earth
man.
would it be the Timberwolves?
It's a shit franchise under shit ownership. I know being from the Minneapolis area, it's just part of the reason that a deal you know uh, hasn't been finalized or they can't come to terms on it is with Alex Rodriguez and partners on buying
Hmm,
the team is because the current ownership wants to put a no movement clause in the deal,
that's
and I
right.
think
Yeah, I
Alex
remember.
Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod and his partners are looking to move that team, and Seattle seems like the best fit for it. But
Hey,
you know,
yeah, I mean,
enough.
if not there, I really don't know where you'd put an NBA franchise. That market is
Yeah,
so
I mean they
hot.
were devastated. They were devastated to lose the Supersonics. I mean, I think that's not quite on the same level, but almost the same level as the North Stars relocating to Dallas. It's like you're in the state of hockey. Like, what the hell are you doing going to Dallas? That's just
Honestly.
that one still bugs me.
That's just like the
At least you got the
Coyotes
Wild.
getting a team, like Arizona getting a team, like a hockey team. Like, what are we doing here, guys? You know,
Oh, they're getting moved to probably
well, I
Quebec
know they're
City or
getting
something like
moved.
that.
They're getting moved within the next 10 years or whatever. They've been rumored to get moved within the last 9 years, like five times. So I'm not really worried at this point. It's going to happen, but I'm going to enjoy hockey here while I can.
Yeah, I mean, that's just man, that's a dumpster fire of a franchise right there. Coyotes.
Oh, dude, yeah, like, and it's almost like when they were going into the expansion draft, and they're like from the Arizona Coyotes, and all I could think was, who would you want to take? Like, I mean, they ended
Yeah,
up
I believe
taking? Uh,
Pitlick.
yeah, Pitlick. He's not half bad, but eh, he's not really going to do anything. He'll be a good bench player. He'll be a good third, fourth liner, but he's not going to be
Yeah,
clutch or anything like
I
that.
mean, mean, if you're a team like the Coyotes and you're like looking at who you're going to protect, I mean, there's like two or three players on that team that are even worth protecting,
Really?
and
You
they
think
got,
that many?
I mean, you got to protect Chikrin for sure, but I mean, it's not like like you look at a team like Tampa Bay, who
Hmm.
they got Yanni Gourde off of Tampa Bay, which I think is huge. He's probably slotted to be their first line center. I mean, he just had, I believe it was shoulder surgery after the season, so he won't be ready until probably November. But when he comes around, I mean, that'll also be good to see him. Like a team like Tampa Bay playing second or third line, he'll get a chance to be on the first line there in Seattle. But Tampa Bay's just got so many good players. A team like Colorado, so many good players that it's like
Oh, so many.
that's
I
got to
think I
be.
was looking at their line to get the triple P, and I want to say they were like plus 250 as the favorite to win the cup next year. And looking at odds like that,
Yeah.
like it's hard not to slam that, you know?
Yeah, I mean they'll have a little bit of a different look, I think, next season because they're not going to be able
Oh
to keep
yeah.
everybody. They're going to have a lot of. I mean, you just look at this season. I mean, being 18 mil over the cap space, but they, loophole by keeping Kucherov out and Stamkos out until the playoffs started. But
Hey,
it's
if
very
you're not
hard to
cheating, you're
keep.
not trying, you know?
Well, it's not even
Unless you're
cheating
the
though, because they're
Astros
just.
and you're complete scumbags. Fuck the Astros.
Yeah, you got to wonder what's happening with the Red Sox this season. That they're all these players batting averages way up. You got Alex Cora in there as
Oh, I can tell you why. It's because
manager.
spider tack's not legal anymore, and these umpires are checking pitchers every other inning. Come on, like that's
No,
why
no, no.
all
But
the averages went up.
I'm talking about the Red Sox. You get Alex Cora coming in there as the manager, who was the manager of the Astros during the whole cheating times,
He
and
learned
then
his lesson.
all their batting averages are up. You got to wonder if there's not something going on with the Red Sox.
Hey, maybe
Little
besides the cheating, he's a
little
good
curve,
hitting coach. Maybe it's like, yeah, you got to fix
little.
this. You got to pick your elbow up a little bit more, whatever. But
No, no, he was really good at. If you know the breaking ball is coming, you can usually hit a lot better.
oh yeah. Shit, if I would have known when the
The
breaking
old
ball was coming, I would have hit 1,000.
the old, the old breaking ball predictor. The bang bang.
Well,
Pretty
do you have anything else about the
pretty
expansion draft?
revolutionary
Because
technology there.
wait, what?
Well, it's a pretty revolutionary technology there with the old trash can, a little bang bang.
Yeah, hey,
But
you make work what you can make work.
no, yeah. This was only the start. I
Hmm.
think the second wave will be over the next 2 3 days, seeing what kind of trades end up being made and which of these players that they took they're intending on keeping versus trading away for maybe draft picks, future stock. I don't know. We got the NHL draft, I think, on
That's
Friday, if I'm not
Friday.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like so that's going to be
Seattle
big.
picks. Yeah, they pick two in that. If they move some players around tomorrow and acquire more draft picks, they could have a lot more young
Damn, could
talent
you
coming
imagine
in.
they just get like
Um,
5 more picks in the first round or something like that? Like they
yeah,
could
and
seriously do some damage coming into the draft on Friday.
they decided to they went with this expansion draft, took a pretty young team for the most part. They got a couple veterans on there, which, like I said, there's trade rumors swirling around a couple of them. They might be moving a couple of these, you know, bigger veterans that they took, and they might. It looks to me like they're trying to go with a very young core and develop it. I don't think they're looking
Yeah,
for immediate
which
success like Vegas was. I think they're trying to build for the future and 4 or 5 years down the road be a big competitor.
yeah, and I mean, especially with hockey, with the grueling schedule, along with just what. competing in a normal game in takes. Like, I think going with a younger team is the way to go. Be prepared 3, 4 years down the road, or be like Vegas and just shoot out of like a can and make a big run. But, besides that, draft young, get your team ready, get your fan base set up for year 5, year 6 championship run or something like that.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be young, so there's you know take that how you will, but I don't think they're going to be big competitors. I know the Vegas odds that they got on them. They've only got better odds than two teams, which is I believe Detroit and Buffalo, which are both just
Yeah,
dumpster fires right now. So
fair enough. But I think when we revisit those odds before the season starts, it'll be a much different picture because we'll actually have an idea of the schedule, the teams they're playing, et cetera, et cetera. But regardless of
yeah,
that, let's
I
talk
mean
about
what?
another team that's not going to make the playoffs whatsoever. And that's the Dallas Cowboys, who reported for training camp today, along with the Buccaneers, because they have the first game of this season. Noah, Dak Prescott, like, rough calf. What was it? Tightness he had? Is that what Tony Romo reported? Like, he had a tight calf muscle or something. Like, whatever, his broken ankle. Like, he's not going to trust that ankle. He's not going to be able to plant on it the way he used to. His long ball's gone. Like, why, besides the facts I laid out on the fact that Dak Prescott is going to suck on a statistical and fantasy output, why else are the Cowboys just not going to win whatsoever?
That is a bad take, my friend. I
No, it's not. Are you
I
kidding me,
actually
dude?
like the Cowboys to win that division. I mean that division is more of a toss up than any other division in football, but um, I have a hard time, you know, if I'm going to bet on who's going to win that division, I have a hard time going anybody other than the Cowboys.
Other
And
than the Cowboys.
as far as Dak goes, I mean, I got him as probably like my seventh or eighth best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, dude can ball,
He
and I think he'll go
can.
out there and he will ball. Barring any other, another serious injury this year, I think Dak will have a great season. See the Cowboys as maybe a 9 or 10 win team, which in that division, much like last year, I think they'll be a little bit better, but uh, Philly shouldn't be a factor. They should be pretty dog shit.
But what about
I can't
what
see the
about the football
Giants
team?
either.
The football team's got
I
Ryan Fitzmagic under center. Like, you can't tell me that doesn't excite you a little bit. And I mean, let's be real. That could be the ignition that offense needs, because that offense was firing on all cylinders last season. Like, they were looking good. I really, I
no
really
no no no
don't
no no no.
know how they don't make
Uh.
playoffs.
Their offense is why they were a below 500 team. They got a top five defense. They're returning a lot of that. Their defense is going to be stellar again. The question is, can Fitzmagic bring them up that level that they need to win 10 or 11 games? Which I do think the winner in that division will be right around like 10-7.
Yeah.
So it's like, can they win 10 or can they win 11 games? And that's going to be the big question. Those head-to-head games will be huge within that division. Like I said, I can't see the Eagles or the Giants taking it. Eagles just have so many problems. Like, they're in a rebuild.
Yeah.
Uh, the Giants, just Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is just not the guy to do it for them. So it's going to be
Well, I
between the
mean,
Cowboys and the football team. And
I, I think that Cowboys. I mean, I'm sorry, not the Cowboys team. I think that Giants team is underrated. I think they are a lot better than we need to, and I think Daniel Jones is going to improve so much in this off season Like every other quarterback improves after having a regular offseason. Like Kyler Murray, for example. The Cardinals are going to have a big year because Kyler Murray is going to have a big year. I think the Giants will have a big year because Daniel Jones is going to have a big year. He has another year to develop. He has another year in that system. He has another year to understand those defenses. I think Daniel Jones is the real deal. But if he doesn't produce, yeah, he's on the block. He's getting replaced within that next draft class.
All I know is Daniel Jones. The only thing he's good for, man, is being sneaky athletic. He's just one of
That's true.
those sneaky athletic white guys. He's just one of those classic sneaky athletic white guys, except for when he's, tripping on yard lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was
Or just tripping
one
over
of my favorite moments of
air.
last season. Tripping on
I
the
don't know.
paint, yeah. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, they'll get Saquon back, which will help, but I think people put too much value on. Not that Saquon isn't like one of the best running backs in the league already, only going into year 3, but I just think people put too much value on like it's the NFL. A running back can't really carry your team
No, absolutely. But
by themselves,
it can help a developing quarterback a lot.
Unless they're Derrick Henry, well, tractor-cito action.
Dude, and okay, so let's talk about Derrick Henry for a sec. Because every sports book I check, the Cardinals are a plus, like they're the underdog. They're +3, +4 points. And honestly, outside of Derrick Henry, I don't see where the Titans are a good football team whatsoever. You know,
I mean, you look at that receiving duo that they've got now.
who is it?
What do you mean? They just signed Julio this offseason.
Oh, okay. I guess, but still, just with
I mean, you got AJ Brown and Julio, which AJ Brown's fantastic young receiver, super promising future for him. And then you got Julio, who's not exactly what he used to be, but he's still probably he's still definitely a top 10 receiver. Some people even have him still in their top 3, which I think it's a little ridiculous to put Julio in top 3 right now, but top 10 I think for sure. And so you got 2 top 10, top 15 receivers there. Losing Jonnu Smith, I don't know who they're going to have as a tight end presence really, but you got 2 excellent receivers with Derrick Henry, and that's the core of that offense is just cram it down your throat with tractor-cito.
yeah,
stiff arming people into other dimensions and all that. Like,
that's what Derrick Henry does. Like, you give him the ball, he's gonna get 5 yards minimum, and that's if he has the whole O line like trying to tackle him at the same time. Like, that man is just unreal. But moving on from that,
he's out here ending people's careers, man.
He really is. Like, he's disgusting. But excuse me. Moving on from that, let's talk about the other team that returned to training camp this week. The defending champions, the ones who I think are going to win the Super Bowl again this year. Tom Brady, the GOAT, and the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers returning to training camp this year with most of their, well, if not all, of their starting lineup from last year. Yeah, all 22.
All 22 Super Bowl starters.
All 22. So, what are we doing here? Like, are we not just going to slam them to win it again? Because I really don't know who else is going to even touch them. I don't think they'll do the perfect season like Tom Brady talked about. Tom Brady wants a perfect season, like start to finish through the Super Bowl. That won't happen because Bruce Arians and him are too smart. They're going to want to rest players. They're going to want to take a break. But I still think, it's a guarantee. Buccaneers, Super Bowl, game over.
I don't think so.
Who else?
I think I mean, there's a number of teams. The biggest one that would come to mind for me would be the Rams. And Brady, he's struggled against top tier defenses. They got lucky they didn't. Oh, they had to play Washington. They got away with a little
They get away.
8-point win against Washington in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, fucking Taylor Heineke at quarterback, and Washington was still in that game the entire time. And that was probably their toughest game of the playoffs, was that first round one against Washington. And it's because you put a top tier defense up there, and I mean, like, you look at Brady's record last year with the Bucs against some of those top tier defenses. You got Rams beat them, the Bears beat them, and the Bears are not a great team, but they took it to Tampa Bay because, I mean, they still got a top tier defense. As crippled as that Bears offense is and has been for so long, with no quarterback play.
None. And we're going to still have no quarterback play going into this season. So that's always nice. Thank you for bringing that up, Noah. I love talking about how the Bears have no quarterback and they haven't had a quarterback in the last 10 years. So thank you again for bringing that up.
Bro, they haven't had a quarterback since Sid Luckman.
Bro, I'm not saying he was our quarterback. Like, come on.
And that was in the 40s, if I'm not mistaken.
Listen, our only quarterback, our only real player ever is Ditka. All right. Ditka was the best quarterback, receiver, running back, cornerback, safety, whatever to play for the Bears. There will no be like
I hate to be the one to tell you this, but Ditka was a tight end, not a quarterback.
I understand. No, I know he was a tight end, but I'm just saying, like, put Ditka at quarterback, and even today, and we'd be good. You know what I mean? He could still run this shitty offense that Matt Nagy insists we run because it's going to win us a championship game, but somehow we're going to lose every game in our fucking division. Anyway, Bears rant over.
Yeah, so Tom Brady had a nice 1-3 record last season in primetime games.
Don't get me wrong, Sleepy Tom.
Oh,
he got tired. He got tired in primetime games.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude's like 60 years old. You can't blame him. He's got a bedtime at 9 p.m. So when he's got to play these, 7 p.m. kickoffs, he gets, by the second half, he's tired. It's past his bedtime.
Yeah.
He can't perform the same. He's just old and sleepy. But
no, and that's
granted,
that's not on
granted, like 3 out of those 4 games were against excellent defenses, and I think that's the big kicker. Is I don't think he's got what it takes to like get past these like really good defenses. And luckily he didn't have to play one other than Washington, who had an abysmal offense the entire playoffs.
Yeah, they had no chance. Like going into that game.
If Washington was a little bit better, had a bit better of an offense last season, I think they might have gotten bounced in the first round of the playoffs,
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't even be talking about Tom Brady winning his 6th Super Bowl, because
7th, but 7th and being the first quarterback to win a Super Bowl in his own stadium, and him just being the greatest of all time. But leave it at that. Yeah, I don't think going back to your Rams pick, dude, the Rams aren't going to do shit this year. Like, I understand the hype with Matt Stafford. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's an excellent quarterback. I think he will turn that offense around, and I will think they'll be a contender. But dude, they're not a Super Bowl team. Run. They're just not.
They could damn well be.
They could damn well be. So right could now. Damn well every other team in the NFC West. Except the 49ers.
Potentially, yeah.
Except the 49ers.
I don't know. Don't sleep on them either. I mean, that's
I am sleeping. I am taking a nap. I am taking melatonin. Like, taking the hardest nap on them, bro. Jimmy G doesn't work with
Yeah,
that offense. The coaching staff hates Jimmy
you're going
G.
to have to eat your words on that
No,
one, my friend.
there's no words to eat. They're not going to be a good team this year. Like, nah, with the shit with Jimmy G,
Bro,
they're
they made a suit. They
oh man,
made the Super Bowl 2 years ago with Jimmy G.
yeah, and they've hated him ever since.
And Jimmy Garoppolo is a
They're
terrible
trying to move
quarterback.
him, and that's why they
Easily.
drafted Trey Lance, so they can just be
Exactly.
like, yeah, bye bye Jimmy
Yeah,
G.
so who
Here
cares?
we go, Trey Lance. Get in this offense and figure it out, dude. Against probably the hardest defenses
Well, who
that you'll
cares?
have to face in your division.
Who cares? I mean, like I said, they made a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. I mean, Trey Lance can't be much worse than Jimmy G, so it doesn't even matter. Like, they're still going to be a good ass team.
Nah.
But, anyways, as far as the Rams go, I love the Rams at plus 1,200. That's a great value
To win
right
the Super
there.
Bowl?
Also, yeah, I mean, sprinkle a little fun on there. But, another one you got to pay attention to is my Green Bay Packers plus 2,000, 1,800, it looks like on some books. But, I mean,
that's pretty bad.
When Aaron Rodgers is back here, hey, we got
those lines are going to jump.
6 days. 6 days until training camp starts. And all I'm saying is take action on the Packers right now before the news is broken that Rodgers is coming back for this season, because those odds are not going to stay where they are.
No, they're not. Once Rodgers,
and I know,
like, it's official, once he shows up to training camp, those odds are going to be stupid. Like, it's going to be minus 500 at minimum, like, with Rodgers coming back.
Yeah, and he will be back. There's no question in my mind really about it at this point. I've been saying that since he didn't get traded on draft night. I've been saying he'll be back to the Packers at least for this season. End of the season, who knows? It could be anything. But my guess, as I've told you before, is I think the Packers sign him to a massive contract with an agreement in there that they'll trade him at the end of the season, and they'll trade him and they'll get a good value back for him. And then some other team will be stuck paying his ridiculous ass contract, which will be, my guess, equal to or larger than Mahomes's per year.
Oh, easily.
But that won't deter anybody.
So that's the thing that's been interesting about this whole thing. Like, they made him a deal to be the highest paid quarterback ever. And so you're talking 47, 50 million a year because of what Patrick Mahomes is getting paying. And now we're talking about possibly trading this dude. So yeah, I say definitely sign him to a long-term deal. Give him all that money, make him happy this year, and then make it some other team's problem at the end of the year. You'll make it to the NFC Championship game.
Well,
and flop there, and then you can start talking deals.
Hey now.
Hey, last 2 years, I'm just saying, if you guys like joking in the NFC Championship game, that's fine.
Well, time to get over the damn hump.
You've got me as a fool if you think I'm betting against Brady in a fucking championship game.
Well, I guess call me a fool then, but I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I said, love the Rams as a value pick there too. I think Stafford's going to have himself a hell of a year.
Hell of a year.
And
hell of a year. He will have himself probably the best year he's had as a quarterback. But I don't think that means they're making the Super Bowl. I don't think that means they're making it out of the first round. I don't think they're a good team.
We will see. And then, what I was going to say is who broke that story about Rodgers turning down that mega deal?
Oh, effing Shafter. Shefty is out
Uh-huh.
here, and he's just trying to put
He's
out this
trying.
propaganda out there.
He is doing all he can to try to save his ass because he was the one who broke the story about Aaron Rodgers being disgruntled and that he'll never play for the Packers again. And then
Oh, and he
who's going to
totally
look
effed
like a
that up.
fucking idiot?
Like, I mean,
Who's going to look like
don't
an
get me wrong.
idiot when Rodgers
Everyone
comes back to
knew,
the Packers this season?
dude. Yeah, he's gonna go back to the Packers. Everyone knew he was disgruntled. Like, everyone knew he wasn't stoked to be a part of the Packers organization. But Schefter, I mean, I don't know what sources he had. I don't know who he was talking to, but not the people
He's just
that
trying to.
should have been talking to. Apparently, like, get better sources, bro.
Well, and he's the one who keeps trying to push this Broncos trade, which is just not flat out not going to happen. They don't
No,
have enough capital to give to the Packers because you can talk about all these packages they're throwing around with like first round picks and like
oh
Drew
yeah,
Lock. It's like, okay, well the Packers don't fucking want Drew Lock.
no,
I mean, Jordan Love will be a better option than Drew Lock.
way
And
better,
then
way better.
those first round picks don't mean as much if you give them to Denver because if they're a playoff team, those picks aren't as high. Like I've told you the only team I see as a potential trade partner for Rodgers is the Raiders, and you get back
Yeah,
first round picks and Derek Carr is in there, and you know. And Schefter's trying to push that. He was a beat writer for the Broncos for like fucking 14 years before he became big on ESPN. So that's where he
yeah.
got
So
his
he
career
wants something
start.
to
Was
go big there.
he's a Broncos fan. He's been covering the Broncos for so long, and he's just trying to push all his own narrative shit on this. And frankly, it's getting pretty annoying to me. I mean, dude needs to like just. It's okay. Less than a week left, and then Schefter can just take his big fucking L, and he can eat that L. He can eat that L like Jameis eats W's, baby.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, Schefter's way off on this one. I don't know. Like, I mean, I think in the beginning it was a good narrative to push. Like, I think Rogers really was ready to leave, and if he could have before it was, 3 weeks before trading camp, like I think he would have, but he won't. He's too much of a competitor. He won't sit out a season. You're right. He'll play, and it
No,
just
he
sucks
won't.
that
He'll
it
be
has
he'll
to
be
be for
playing.
the backers.
You know what? I love it. You can say it sucks, but we're loving it.
Oh, the
And
Packers, yeah,
who knows
absolutely. Like Rodgers ain't gonna tank
who
this season.
who knows what happens if they win the Super Bowl. Maybe he has a change of heart and he's sticking around. That could be all the difference maker. I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl with the roster he's on, you can't complain about no help if you're winning the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, very true. We'll see if those
also,
NFC Championship, like whenever they play in that, if that changes whatsoever.
it's also flat out lie that he's got no help. I mean,
It's
you
so
have 2 years in a.
it is, but it isn't.
I mean, you're telling me 2 years in a row of having the number one pass block win rate on your offensive line is no help. I
Well,
mean,
that
you have arguably the number one offensive line 2 years in a row. You got Devontae Adams, who's arguably the best receiver in the entire NFL. You got a top 10 running back in Aaron Jones. Robert Tunyon's really emerging. I mean, one more receiver, yeah, that might be the step you like, the hurdle you need to get over to like. But I mean, you look at the offensive numbers with the Packers the last couple of years. I mean, they've been like tremendous. I mean, 80
yeah.
percent touchdown rate in the red zone last season.
No, and
It's
don't get me wrong. Packers have looked good. Like they're going to be a good team, regardless if Rogers plays or not. But you still call into question a little bit. Like if they're looking to trade Rodgers, like how bad does Love have to look in the training camp to not even be considered a starter at that point because you're looking for a replacement. And that's why I also don't think that Rodgers will be traded anytime soon because there's no one that can come in, get that system, and be prepared like Rodgers or Love would be in that case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. But like I said, we're not going to have to worry about that this season because Rodgers will be the starting quarterback for the Packers this season, and that's a problem for the offseason next year.
Yeah.
Deal with it then.
I mean, I definitely hope so because Rodgers with them is just unbelievable. But I want to move to something that's a little bit out of my depth personally, but still seems big enough that we need to talk about. Um, it's been reported that the Longhorns and Oklahoma are talking about getting out of the Big 12, going to the SEC when the contracts expire in 2025. I mean, so Big 12 dead?
If the SEC votes yes on it, I would say yes. I mean, the Big 12's already what 10 teams,
If that.
which
But yeah,
I always get a kick out of. I always get a kick out of that. There's 10 teams in the Big 12 and 14 teams in the Big 10.
love
But
that.
yeah, because I mean, if the SEC votes yes on it, and Texas and Oklahoma move there, then you're at 16 teams in the SEC. The Big 10, in order to compete, they'll go up to 16. So they'll probably, you'll probably see Iowa State, and maybe Kansas State join the Big 10.
Ooh.
I'm sure the Pac-12 would probably absorb two of those teams as well.
Well,
you could see TCU and Baylor joining the Pac-12 because I mean at that point if you lose Texas and Oklahoma, if the Big Ten tries to take two teams, then you're down to six. That's not even a conference anymore, and so you might you're going to see the rest of those teams needing somewhere to go, and that's when like I said, you could see the Pac-12 or Texas Tech and Baylor, or Texas Tech and TCU. Or
absolutely.
or the Pac or the Pac-12 also takes four teams. You take Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State into the Pac-12.
And so that's where I'm kind of more leaning to because with the new NIL rules and these players being able to get paid, we have all these tech companies and everything in the Pac-12. Like it's all the West Coast and all those companies. Like let's be real, even Nike's over here. They'll just dump monies
Mm-hmm.
into players, and I think that's going to be a big recruiting tool coming into the next couple of recruiting cycles we have. At least until
Well,
the pay, you know what I mean, the likeness and everything is completely figured out by the NCAA, which will take a couple of years to
yeah,
make sure that everything is fair and everything. Because with Nick Saban coming out and saying that his quarterback's already making a couple $1 million, like that, like that's a little questionable.
yeah.
But
Well, and that was that's classic recruiting, but not recruiting. He's he's like, oh, our quarterback's approaching seven figures
yeah,
already off of this. It's like he's not breaking any recruiting rules or anything, but
he's
that's
just letting
pretty damn
everyone
close to
know,
recruiting if I've
like,
ever seen it. Yeah, it's like, I'll come to Alabama, you'll make a bunch more money.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, as far as NCAA, I wouldn't be surprised if we within 5 years see them just completely dissolved. Like, and that's their own damn fault. I mean, you just got years and years of failure to failure to govern their body and their league how they should, and and losing this big lawsuit in the Supreme Court, that might just be the cherry on top to see the NCAA just go away and watch these conferences just, I don't know, govern themselves under their own rules.
And like, I'm all for that. I'm all for conferences governing over their own rules and stuff. Like especially when it comes to name and likeness and stuff. But however, you have Dabo Sweeney coming out today saying that the expansion of a college playoff system is bad for the league. And it's like, dude, you're going to be in the Final Four regardless of whatever happened. Like, why are you bitching? Why are you moaning? Like, it's kind of like
Well,
LeBron, like, bitching and moaning about
Dabo's
being in the play-in game. You know what I mean?
yeah, but Dabo's bitching because he knows they're gonna be winning the ACC pretty much every fucking year, and then he's like, "Oh, win, we got to play extra games." My favorite was Mike Leach. God, what a boss. He's like, "Why don't we just go to 64?" I was like,
Honestly.
"Oh man, that man's great."
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand both sides of the argument, but like as a fan, I mean, I want to see
Well,
more
I want more
games.
playoffs. These
Exactly.
bowl
I
games
mean, I
don't
think
mean shit. Like,
64
cool,
is
you won the Fiesta Bowl. What does that mean?
64 is a bit aggressive. That's too much
Oh,
for
yeah. But
college football. Like I don't need to see like Bama playing some like middle of the road. Like like nobody wants to see Bama playing Colorado.
yeah,
That's
no,
just
absolutely. But like, if they adopted a
it's
system somewhat like the NFL has for their playoffs, you know what I mean? Like, it would be a better playing field. It would be more games, but it would also be more like, it would show who's the best team because you're not just playing this one other team that a committee decided that you're going to play. It's going to be the best team out of this bracket that we put together, and y'all are going to play each other.
yeah. I don't think they should go over 16 for football. I mean, just because like the games are more taxing, the injury risk is higher,
Yeah, and I
and the
guess
and
at
the
what point do star players start
the
saying,
skill up.
I'm done, I'm going to go into the NFL draft? Like, I don't want to fuck up my stats, I don't want to get injured.
Yeah, and well, in the skill disparity between like the number one team in football versus like the number 20 or 25 team versus basketball, where any given game you could see a big upset. We see that every year. I think if you hypothetically went to a 64 team tournament in football, I don't think you're going to see hardly any big upsets unless you're like those like 7-10 matchups. Maybe you're like 6-11, like potentially, but you're not going to see any like 13 or 14 seeds winning a first round game if you go to a 64 round tournament, a
No,
64
not at
team
all.
tournament.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're worried about. Like, I think that's what the college committee is worried about, is they won't have the right teams in the finals in the last 4 games, 6 games, however they decide to structure it. But they're worried that an Alabama is going to get bounced in the first round by a lucky, whatever team that year.
Well, see, that would never happen in football. That's the thing. Like, I mean, and you're gonna end up with these games with like Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, where they're playing a quarter and a half with their starters, and then they're up by fucking 30 points already, and then they're just putting in their backups or third strings for the rest of the game, and that's just not entertaining. Like you don't like nobody wants to see that. I don't like,
No.
especially when playoffs come around. Like that's what the first 3 games of the season, that non-conference schedule is to watch. And nobody tunes into those games because like I don't care about Bama beating some you know mediocre like non-power conference team by 45 points. Like that's not a game I want to watch.
No, not at all. But looks like it might be a half the game that we have to watch. And honestly, I'll enjoy just betting Bama over.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, back to the original point, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with, Oklahoma and Texas. My honestly, I think my guess is that the SEC is going to vote not in favor of them joining. But it'll be interesting because I mean, those are two pretty big market, especially for football teams. But it'll really shake things up if they're moving to the SEC, because I do think that'll be the end of the Big 12.
Due to technical difficulties, we will not be able to discuss the rest of the end of the Big 12 as it is. However, if you do want to follow myself, AJ, at Brofict1 on Twitter and Instagram, and Noah at N_Engelbretson, go ahead and follow us for our hot takes on daily sports news, hot bets we like for the day, and everything else in between. With that, we will be back with another episode coming up very shortly, and we will see you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.